the way they are, it looks like Talon would take over the lead.
Well, and also fourth in points, only 9 points in back of Pingree, is our leader, Schnell.
Things are really tightening up now, and Schnell is the one, when you're able to come from behind, you got so much more fire. When you're out front trying to hold somebody off, you tend to be a little bit more defensive. See if Talon can pick it back up now.
Schnell opened the eyes of many with a podium in the opener, a third-place finish after starting fifth. He had the fastest qualifying time in the qualifying heats that day, and he came back last week in round 2, taking a 7th place. Taking another look now at the pass. That's number 63, Schnell, working on Talon Bolin, last week's winner.
Well, Talon goes through there with the great timing, jumps over everything, but he goes wide in the corner. That's where Schnell made the pass on Pingree, sent him off the racetrack, and works again for the lead. Remember, Art Schnell won his heat race beating Casey Lytle, and he was faster. He opened up the lead. Lytle was leading that race. I have to wonder if maybe this would have been a heck of a race down to the wire, even if Lytle was still out there.
Officially here with Greg Schnell. He's put in a lot of work over the years, man. He's got a few wins. How many wins do you have Supercross? 2 or 3?
I got 2 Supercross wins, and then I got the U.S. Open win in 2004 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas.
Okay. But your career officially started when you were like riding Suzuki's, correct? I mean, you were riding amateurs on Suzuki's for a while, and then that led into the pros, right?
Yeah, my amateur career is kind of crazy because I didn't ride from when I was 14 to 16 years old at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but long story short, my dad, he sold my bikes because I was ditching high school to go ride my dirt bikes.
Damn.
So I kind of called his bluff, and he's like, look, I'm going to sell your bikes if you keep ditching school. Sure enough, he sold my bike, so I didn't ride for 2 years when I was a freshman, just about senior in high school.
Oh, wow, really? So
and
when
then,
you got back on the game, how was your speed? I mean, you must have picked up speed hella quick within that time.
So when I was 14 years and younger, when I was on an 80, KX80, I really didn't win. I really wasn't focused. Mm-hmm. And then when I knew what I had lost when I was 16, I went from a C rider as a Suzuki rider as a C rider to a pro in a year and a half. So it went really fast.
That went really quick. And did you end up picking up a ride with Suzuki? And then was that a bike of choice? Because I know back in the days you always were on Suzuki's, man, for a long period of time. Yeah,
my dad bought me when he decided to buy me another bike. It was a KX 125, a 1992 KX 125, and I want to say he bought it for like $3,900.
Okay,
brand new. Anyways, took it to Glen Helen on their night track. They used to have that night track, like Monday night practices at Glen Helen. And they had a double in the middle, and the first time I got on the bike, it locked up on me, went over the bars, said, I'm not riding this thing anymore. I'm like, no, let's go get another bike. He's like, you want a Suzuki? I said, yes, let's go get a Suzuki. So my dad went down to Suzuki country back down in Norco.
Okay.
And right off the 15, and he bought me a Suzuki. And right off the bat, I loved the bike, started winning. I mean, right out of the gate, won all the Golden States, the CMC Trans-Cal, I mean, everything. And went to GNC in Texas, went to Lake Whitney, went blah, blah, blah. So did really well, and I ended up getting a Suzuki ride from it.
Oh, wow. And so when you got your ride, were you still racing pro amateur, or did you actually turn pro and start jumping into like some outdoors or Supercross at that point?
So I was contracted as a B rider and then as an A rider, but as a kind of like an amateur pro. So I still had to do Loretta's, Ponca. There was probably 3 races I was contracted to do under the Suzuki banner, but I was also able to do some Supercross events as long as I didn't get, enough points so I wouldn't be able to ride like a class that they wanted me to ride at Loretta. So I was able to get my feet wet as a pro-am. doing all the amateur stuff, and then as well as riding a couple Supercrosses as a pro rider.
So when you jumped into Supercross, what year was that? 90, 93, 94?
I tried to qualify in 94, I think, maybe at Seattle. I missed it by a couple spots. And then into 1995, I qualified for a couple and actually got on the box at San Jose. It was my first podium in Supercross, and I wasn't even able to ride a Supercross track. I didn't have a Supercross track to ride. Just kind of showed up and got on the box. Pretty crazy.
So when you started riding Supercross, you kind of had some good results. You showed your speed definitely, and you had some mediocre results. You know, you had your good and bad days like every other racer does. But how did you feel like you knew this was me? I'm in the game now. This is something I wanted to do. So you just stuck with it.
Well, when I was a kid, I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and it really took my dad selling my motorcycles. And by the way, my dad not only sold my bikes, but he sold my brother's bikes, and my brother didn't even do anything.
He made sure you weren't riding, man.
Yeah, but it wasn't until I really knew what I had lost, and then I just was really focused at that point. Yeah. And then I knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew as a kid that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't kind of know how to get there until until I was 16, 17, and it all came really, really fast. Yeah. And then everything kind of snowballed from there. Okay. Yeah.
So that you rode Suzuki's up until what, 90, 95, 96? When did you hop on Yamahas?
So I was contracted with Suzuki in 95. And then in 96, I had already signed a Suzuki contract as a pro support rider. Okay. After I signed my Suzuki contract, Larry Brooks called, and he was starting a team with Chaparral. And he approached me with it was a different concept that never was done before. I was interested, and I mean, for me, it was a good deal. Because I needed help and guidance, that every rider has a coach nowadays. Yeah. Well, back then we didn't have that, but I saw Larry as a mentor. I thought that he could take me to the next level, and that's what he did. I started doing really well on that team. So I was a Suzuki supported rider under the Chaparral tent, and Brian Deegan was on the team. He was riding a Honda. I was on a Suzuki. Damn. And then Larry Brooks, that was his final year racing, and he was on a Yamaha. Wow. So that was like if I remember correctly, that's like the only time a team has ridden three different brands of motorcycle. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so that was my initial involvement with Chaparral as a Suzuki supported rider, and then 1997 they switched to Yamaha, which they hired me again to ride a Yamaha.
Okay. Yeah. When did you get your first win? Were you on Yamaha Troy? Because you rode for those guys too as well, right?
I did ride for Yamaha Troy. In 2002, I rode my first Supercross win came in 2000, riding for Motor World of El Cajon.
Motor World of El Cajon. Yep, I remember. Yes, sir. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it had to be a hometown race. I mean, it was probably Anaheim, or I got to look at my stats, but I see I got you a few. I mean,
San Diego.
Yep, there we go. Yep.
It was in 1996. If we back up a little bit, I broke my wrist. I was battling for a championship, racing against Kevin Windham, and Kevin Windham ended up missing a round. He ended up breaking his collarbone. Okay. Well, so I ended up breaking my wrist at the round that he missed in St. Louis, and I broke it really, really bad. I had nerve damage, and it took me a long time to get it even remotely right to race or even ride a bike. It took years for my nerve to regenerate, because I severed the medial nerve in my right wrist, my throttle hand, and it took many, many years to even be able to have feeling in my right hand. Wow. And obviously you want to have feeling in those hands. I mean, excuse me, look what kind of what Roxon has gone through.
Yeah.
You know, he's had like 14 surgeries. I had 4, not nearly as many as he did, but you know, I still have permanent. I mean, I literally raced my entire career with nerve damage in my right hand.
Wow, never
And
known that.
but it was either, you know, I had to make a decision. My doctor's like, look, your nerve may or may not regenerate. And it took many years for it to come back to a decent point to where I can even hang on. So I went through 97, 98, and those 2 years were really, really difficult. Really difficult. I got on the box a couple times in those years, but I mean, really, I got lucky, to be honest. It was just, I couldn't hang on to the bars. Plenty of sketchy moments.
Well, hey, it played in favor in your behalf, man. That's for sure. So it worked out. So man. So when you jumped on that Yamaha, like, how was your outdoor? Did you ride the whole outdoor with the wrist like that as well?
I did. I had more issues outdoors than I did indoors, just because the motos were longer. And kind of similar to what Ken Roxon has. You know, he doesn't really talk about it a whole lot, but you know, you lose sensation. You know, Adam Cianciarillo, he had some nerve damage this past year, and he said after about 20 minutes, you know, he couldn't feel his hand. Well, that's exactly what I had. So it was a struggle, and I actually, my first outdoor season that I completed was in 2000. So I turned pro in 94, raced some races, outdoor races in 95. Didn't do anything in 96 because I had to sit out the outdoor season because of my broken wrist. 97 hit a couple, 98 hit a couple, but 2000 was my first full year. Yeah, doing cross and outdoors.
Wow. So you went. I mean, could you after I think it was after Yamaha, or you started riding Honda? Was I mistaken? You went from Honda, but then you went back to Suzuki. And I think you actually came back again to Yamaha.
So from 97, I was on a Yamaha from 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, and then 2002 I rode for Yamaha Troy, and that was my last year on a Yamaha. And then I went to I'm sorry, 2003 was my last year on a Yamaha.
Okay.
And then 2004 I actually was going to ride a Yamaha again, and had some offers to ride, and I decided to do my own thing. And I actually rode Timmy Wiegand's. He had a brand new CRF 250. So the first year of the Honda 250 two-stroke come out.
Okay.
He was over at a friend of mine, Tommy Harrison Supercross track, and I had my full-blown built, good YZ 125. And I rode his stock CR250F out on the Supercross track, and I was like 3 seconds a lap faster on his stock CRF 250.
Oh wow!
That's how much better it was compared to a two-stroke.
Wow.
And so I ended up, like, literally 3 weeks before Anaheim won, I went to Chaparral and bought 2 CRF 250s. So I was a Honda guy in 2004.
Okay, now you feel that you were a better Supercross rider, or you feel that you were a better outdoor rider? Because that technical stuff, man, I mean, you were very good at the technical stuff. And
yeah, I would say Supercross for sure. It's not that I was better. I enjoyed Supercross more.
Okay.
I always saw myself as a Supercross guy. I really wasn't into outdoors. You know, here in America, you have to do both if you want to get a good ride. It's not that I didn't like outdoors, but I had a lot of issues with my wrist my entire career. So it was just a struggle. And you know how that goes. Like anything that's a struggle, you tend to kind of frown upon and kind of get in the dumps a little bit here and there. But I learned to deal with it. And but Supercross was I love Supercross. Like when I was at Moto X, I was able to hop on the Supercross track this year. And I don't ride much anymore, but I got on the Supercross track just for like 10 laps, and I was just grinning from ear to ear. I was so happy.
Damn, you had some intense battles during Supercross. I was actually just watching a race of you today, and I think it was, matter of fact, I don't know when it was. I think was it San Diego? Might have been the San Diego win. and you passed bowling, and you came
Yeah.
out. Yeah, you came out with the whole shot, man. And you were fucking. Excuse me, but you were on the pipe, man. And I was like, dude. And I remember those moments back in the days going to Anaheim and watching you, and it was just like going down memory lane again, man. Because we lived in the same city. We had a lot of the same friends, and I was just like, dude, this dude is fast, man, and he's out there winning it. And it was just like that pride thing, man. Even for me, just watching you race, man. So
Yeah, Anaheim was always my favorite stadium to race in. I never won in Anaheim, but I have been second, thirds, and fourths and fifths. Everything else, all the way down to 20th. Had lots of good races in that stadium. It's more or less a home race for me. Growing up in Rancho Cucamonga, that was the closest race. I was able to ride in and race in the Coliseum, which was pretty cool, but it's not the same as Anaheim. Anaheim's a special place, and even when I walk down the halls and under the stadium and in the tunnel down there, even nowadays when I'm able to get out to California, it just has a different feeling, man.
Yeah. It's one of those special places. That's probably why they got it there. They used to have it there all 3 rounds going there every year, but the schedule's changed so much now. But I used to try to make every round every year.
Yeah, it was. Anaheim's a special place, man. It's there's a lot of good and bad memories there, and I've been going to Anaheim Stadium since I was a kid. My parents moved us out to Rancho Cucamonga in 1980. I was 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, going to baseball games, and I remember going in the stadium before they refurbished the stadium.
Wow.
So that was back. I'm outdated myself now.
I'm right there with you, man. But I remember when they had the Coliseum. I think it was like Sebastian Tortelli came one year on a 250 and just cleaned the clock on everybody. He was so fast that day going up the stadium and coming back down, man, and up those hills. But like I said, that was such a long time ago. But you had some tremendous battles, man. I was just kind of looking at the list because everybody during your 125 days, dude, they were all heavy hitters, man. Casey Lytle, Casey Johnson, David Pingree, Talon Volan, Jimmy Button, all those guys now, man, are still blazing fast. You know what I'm saying? And I know you still carry speed because you get out front, and lead these guys, and you are always mixing it up with some of those guys on a regular basis, man.
Yeah, some of my best races I was actually a privateer, which is kind of crazy. It usually doesn't happen that way. Usually privateers aren't anywhere near the top 3, 4, maybe even top 5. Yeah. And, I was fortunate enough to have, Pro Circuit do my engine, suspensions, and Mitch and Bones over there. They always did a great job with my chassis package and motor package. So I was fortunate enough to have a good bike as a privateer. If you look at today, in today's world, privateers don't win. Privateers barely get on the box, if at all. You could see them breaking in the top 5 a little bit, but it's not like it was back in the day. I think they still can. I think it's just different. It's more of a mental game than anything. It's not about the bike. I'll give you an example. In 1996, I was riding for Chaparral and Larry Brooks, and my bike, it wasn't anywhere near good. It was okay, but Kevin Windham was on a factory Yamaha. Okay, and this is 1996. Okay. I rode for Yamaha Troy in 2002. And when I first got on the team, we were testing and we were testing some carburetors and some heads and cylinders on the YZ125. And I saw some engraving on there and some markings that said K-Dub. And I'm like, this Wyndham stuff? And they're like, yeah, this is some of his old stuff. I'm like, from 1996?
Wow. And
I had to race him on that stuff that I was using in 2002. That's how good it was. And I'm like,
it was his stuff.
But that's how good it was. And I had to race him on the stuff that I had to race on, like back in the day. And I'm like, geez, man, like that. I didn't realize it was that good,
Wow.
So, yeah. So anyhow.
You did some racing in Canada too, because I remember a lot of guys back in the days came over to Canada, like Treadwell, I think Dubach and Dowdy, and back in the days. What brought you over to Canada to do some racing?
Man, in 2003, well, back up to 2002 when I rode for Yamaha Troy. Um, in Supercross, I rode the East Coast and I dislocated my shoulder in Detroit and or Pontiac. I'm sorry, Pontiac. And I tried to ride outdoors. I did some outdoors, but my shoulder just wasn't good. I when I dislocated my shoulder, I tore my labrum and um, my rotator cuff. So I was riding injured, and it just did not feel good. I did halfway decent, but I was nowhere near top fives. So I ended up calling it a year, and I was like, you know what? I'm burnt out. I want to take some time off. I want to do something a little different. I didn't want to ride the 125 class anymore. I wanted to ride the big bike class. So I decided to pursue that, and I did, and I had a deal through Riverside Yamaha, a good friend of mine, Danny Yagi. Okay. He still works for Riverside Yamaha, which is a dealership up in Canada. And so in 2003, that's when I rode for them, but I was able to do the 250 class in Supercross here in the States in 2003, and then during the summer, go up and race the Canadian Nationals.
How did that go?
So, so it was kind of a very unique deal. Yeah.
Interesting. And how was that? Yeah. I mean, you did the whole national, or you just?
I did. There was 8 rounds. I did. I believe I did all 8. I got maybe 4th overall. I don't remember exactly. What overall I got, but it was cool. Like I love to travel. I was able to travel all the way from the west coast of Canada all the way to the east coast, and everywhere in between. Met a bunch of cool friends, while I was up in Canada, and I enjoyed myself up there. I love it.
Yeah. I'm actually here now. I don't even know if you know it. This is where I'm actually calling you from, man. I've been here.
Really?
Yeah. I've been here. I moved here about 5 years ago, man.
Oh, dude, I didn't know that.
Yeah, man.
Crazy. What part of Canada?
I'm in Toronto.
Oh, wow.
Man, so if you ever need to come up here, dude, I'm here, man. You got a place to stay. Don't worry.
Dude, absolutely. So I used to race a Supercross in Montreal, like for years. I probably did the Montreal Supercross maybe 7 years in a row. Wow. And that was one of my favorite Supercross races. It was just fun, like I grew up in the mid 90s, late 90s and early 2000s racing Supercross. And we like to have fun, we worked hard, but we like to have fun. It's not like it is these days where, it's all just go racing all the time, training all the time. Yeah. And that's all there is. We like to have fun. And Montreal is a very cool city. Yeah. And man, we had some fun up there.
I bet.
That's for another show, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's part 2 right there, buddy.
Yes, sir.